jump into that live chat. A lot of good stuff. Folks, we're going to kick things off here on our show this week with topic number one. It's the improbable Atlanta Braves. The Braves defeat the Houston Astros 7-0 in Game 6 of the World Series. They take home the 2021 World Series. And Brandon, this Atlanta Braves team, very improbable win for them. They had the least amount of wins of any playoff team here in 2021 and sort of just had a late surge and were able to kind of go on a run at the end of the season, Brandon. This was amazing for Atlanta to win the World Series here in 2021.
Yeah, I mean, just quickly before I jump on the Braves and, for all of our Atlanta fans, I want to, ride what you were just saying about a subscription. Definitely give us a subscribe here. Give us a like. But producer Ben does a great job of doing all these cut-ups, and he's got a playlist of all the cut-ups. So if you even have just one specific thing that you're here for, whether it be F1 or basketball or football, you can go right to that playlist and watch all the clips that we cover on that topic. So I really think that's an amazing job right there by producer Ben. Point. So I love that part. But yeah, let's get back to Atlanta. Atlanta, man, I mean, I seen a great meme today that was saying Atlanta fans deserve it after all the championships that they've lost over these few years recently, right? I mean, especially people wanting to bring up the Patriots come back a lot, which I loved seeing that, obviously. But I get it. These Atlanta fans have gone through a lot with all their sports. So it's good to see one of their professional teams actually deliver a title back to the city for them. And this is the first time the Atlanta Braves have won since 1995. So that's going back a long way that this team has got to celebrate, and this organization in particular has got to celebrate. So I think this is great news for obviously the city of Atlanta, great for the Braves organization, who I've always been a fan of, obviously going back to the days, like we said, of Chipper Jones and those great squads that they had back in the early 90s and early 2000s. But I'll tell you what, obviously I think this is an organization that's taken some heat for their name, and most recently for their chant and the tomahawk chop. But I'm also a Florida State fan, and they do that at Florida State as well too. So I think there's one way where you can do it in good taste, and I honestly think that the Braves and the Seminoles do it in good taste. So I'm not really against that. But I do think this is great for this organization, great for the city, great for the fans. I think, some of these fans, especially if you're young, this is probably the first title that you've seen your Braves team win. So some of us that are older, obviously it's not. So I remember that team in 95. It was great to watch there. I was in 5th grade. But it was definitely an amazing night for the Atlanta Braves.
Definitely, yeah. The Braves have always kind of been that kind of traditional team, I feel like, because we were born in the 80s, kind of grew up in the 90s, and the Braves were always good in the 90s. They won just that one World Series, and I remember like David Justice and Ron Gant and Fred McGriff, and Kenny Lofton was on the Braves at one point. I can't remember if he was on the World Series team, but they had an awesome team back then in the mid-90s, and obviously Maddox and Tom Glavine and John Smoltz, who was actually, oddly enough, announcing the game last night. But this was just crazy because that Atlanta Braves team was one of the best in Major League Baseball. They had all-stars. They had an unbelievable rotation. I just mentioned the 3 Hall of Famers that are in that rotation, or that were in that rotation. This team a little different, like I mentioned, they had 88 wins on the season going into the postseason. So they had the lowest amount of wins. They won the division. It was the NL East was kind of they all kind of beat each other up throughout the year. But then you go back to, they lost their best player, Ronald Acuna Jr., earlier in the season. And then on top of that, Marcell Ozuna, he got hurt. They had a domestic violence issue. So you lose 2 of your best players for a couple of different reasons. And then during the World Series, Charlie Morton, he breaks his leg because of or fractures his leg because a ball went off his leg. So you have all these issues. The other night, last night, Max Fried's foot gets stepped on, and you're saying, if you're an Atlanta fan, like, here we go again. He stayed in the game. Fried was great last night. I think he went 6 innings, didn't give up a run, showed what kind of ace he is. But then, the biggest thing for them, too, was their trade deadline acquisitions, who kind of struggled in their previous teams, played really well for Atlanta. They were kind of under the radar acquisitions because they weren't playing well before. But Jorge Soler he ends up being the World Series MVP. Hit an absolute rocket last night to left field. And then Jock Peterson, who's made some contributions. Eddie Rosario, who was not good in Cleveland this year. Rosario, excuse me. who's not great in Cleveland this year. He comes over, plays well for the Braves. So, you have guys that sometimes that happens when you acquire players who aren't necessarily even all-stars, although Solar has always been a good power hitter. They come over to this team and they kind of just fill certain roles. And that's what happens to championship teams. You look at a lot of different championship teams, and there's one or two or maybe even more mid-season acquisitions that either help the team get over the hump into the postseason or help the team win the title. That's what happened here with the Braves. Unbelievable season for them. They were the team I was rooting for, and it was great to see them win Game 6 last night.
Yeah, they pretty much dominated Game 6 to win it, and that being the deciding game. So it was good to see. But this is just another sign of when, a professional team gets hot at the right time and the right moment, that they can go on to win the title, especially when they get hot in the playoffs. Just another sign of that. But as a coach, I've got to give a nod to their coach, Ron Washington. The man's been around the game for like 3 or 4 decades right now, has been a great coach in Major League Baseball for a long time. This guy, he's going to be a Hall of Famer if he's not already as a player. I'm not sure. Maybe you can answer that. But if he's not already in the Hall of Fame, he's definitely going to be in the Hall of Fame when he decides to, hang it up. But I've got to give a lot of credit to Coach Ron Washington of the Atlanta Braves. But hey, moving on to topic number 2 tonight.